Hi, today we're going to learn about the organization of natural system. Every natural system is a mix of biotic and abiotic factors. A biotic factor is a living organism, such as a plant, animal, fungus, or bacterium. Biotic factors can also include how an organism interacts with any living part of its environment. For example, bacteria inside an animal's intestines are biotic factors that help with food digestion. A herd of bison feeding on grasses in a prairie is also a biotic factor. An abiotic factor is a non-living part of the environment, such as sunlight, temperature, precipitation, or humidity. Other abiotic factors include water and wind currents, as well as nutrients and minerals in soil. Earth is composed of many natural systems. Each natural system can be broken down into smaller and more specific parts. At the highest level, Earth is divided into four systems called spheres. The atmosphere is all the gases in the air that surround Earth. The biosphere is all living organisms. The geosphere is the interior and surface of the Earth, including rocks, continents, and the ocean floor. The hydrosphere is all salt water and fresh water, including water and ice. The biosphere contains all life on Earth. Living organisms can be found inside rocks deep underground to high in the atmosphere. The biosphere is made up of several biomes. Biomes are regions defined by specific abiotic factors to which plants, animals, and other organisms are well adapted. Terrestrial biomes are land-based biomes and are defined by their climate. Aquatic biomes are water-based biomes and are defined by their water depth and salinity. Some biomes can be very small. A microbiome is a group of microbes that naturally live on or within another organism. Let's look at the different types of biomes. There are desert, the savanna, the tropical rainforest, the tundra, the temperate forest, the grassland, the boreal forest, the marine, and the freshwater. Each biome contains multiple ecosystems. An ecosystem includes all living organisms in a particular area along with the non-living parts of that environment. Ecosystems can exist at different scales and within one another. Some ecosystems are very small and only occur under specific environmental conditions. These small natural systems are called microecosystems and include soil, ponds, and puddles, decaying logs, and tree cavities. Each ecosystem contains multiple communities made up of many populations. A community is a group of different species that interact with one another within a specific area, while a population is a group of individuals from the same species living in the same general area. Abiotic factors affect where life can exist and the types of organisms found in different parts of the biosphere. Temperature tends to decrease with latitude. At low latitudes, the sun's rays strike the Earth's surface most directly, so equatorial regions tend to be warmer. At high latitudes, the sun's rays hit the Earth's surface at an angle and are more spread out, so polar regions tend to be cooler. Precipitation also tends to decrease with latitude. Temperature affects the amount of water vapor that air can hold. Warm air holds more water vapor than cold air, so the warmer air in equatorial regions can hold more water, which then condenses into rain as it rises up into the atmosphere and cools. Species richness tends to be highest at low altitudes near the equator. Here the climate is relatively warm and humid year-round, making it a favorable environment for many species. Species richness tends to be lowest at high latitudes towards the poles. With increasing latitude, the climate becomes cooler and varies more with the seasons, making it more difficult for species to survive. In terrestrial environments, elevation, temperature, and precipitation are important abiotic factors. The interaction of these factors affects where terrestrial organisms are found. Both temperature and precipitation change with elevation. As elevation increases, temperatures become cooler and precipitation increases. In general, species richness is higher in areas with warmer temperatures and more precipitation. However, in higher elevation areas, species richness is often lower due to harsher climatic conditions. However, species richness becomes more complex in mountain ranges because of variation in precipitation. As air moves up and over a mountain range, the air cools and its water vapor condenses into rain or snow. So one side of a mountain range tends to have more precipitation and the other side tends to be drier. This variation in habitats across the mountain range leads to different patterns of species richness. Abiotic factors determine where an organism can survive and live. This is evident in the organism's range, which refers to the geographic area where an organism occurs throughout its lifetime. Some abiotic factors form physical barriers that restrict where an organism can be found and where it can go. For example, a terrestrial organism's range may be limited by mountains or a desert. An aquatic organism may be restricted only to freshwater or saltwater environments. Every organism needs a specific set of abiotic factors to develop, survive, and reproduce successfully. An organism's tolerance is its ability to survive variation in abiotic factors, such as changes in temperature or sunlight. Each organism has a tolerance range for every abiotic factor in its environment. Optimal conditions are those within an organism's tolerance range. When conditions are optimal, an organism can survive and reproduce successfully. Stressful conditions are those close to an organism's lower and upper limits of tolerance. When conditions are stressful, an organism may survive, but it will likely produce fewer or no offspring. Extreme conditions are those beyond an organism's limits of tolerance. When conditions are extreme, an organism will not survive. The tolerance ranges for all abiotic factors relevant to an organism makes up the organism's fundamental niche. In other words, the fundamental niche represents the environmental conditions in which an organism could exist. Certain interactions and resource availability can restrict an organism's use of its environment. As a result, an organism may only use a portion of its fundamental niche. This is called the organism's realized niche. An organism's niche can change with its growth and development. For example, caterpillars feed on plant leaves, whereas adult butterflies feed on nectar from flowers. Specialist species are organisms that have narrow niches. Specialists typically have small tolerance ranges for abiotic factors, require specific resources to survive, and may have a restricted geographic range. For example, the Kirtland's warbler is a specialist bird species that only nests near young jack pine trees. Generalist species are organisms that have broad niches. Generalists typically have large tolerance ranges for abiotic factors, can use many different resources to survive, and often have a wide geographic range. For example, raccoons are a generalist species. They live in many different environments and eat a variety of foods. This was part 1 of the organization of natural system, and come back for part 2.